Did you know that you could review cities on niche.com? When I read through some of these reviews, it gave me an idea of why some people are resistant to living in the suburbs of Oklahoma City. Some of the most popular suburbs of Oklahoma City are going to be Norman, Moore, Edmond, Choctaw, and Yukon. There are a lot of others, of course, but these are the biggest ones. So, what are the biggest complaints about these cities? And are any of them boring? The first city I looked at, of course, was Norman because I live in Norman and I've lived here since 2007. So for these reviews, I read the bad ones first. So the 1-star reviews and the 2-star reviews is what I covered. And then we'll see which reviews have merit and which ones don't and what makes these cities so boring. So Norman had 4 1-star reviews. The first 1-star review said, OU is a great place for weird people. So, University of Oklahoma is located in Norman. And this person says that OU is fantastic for weird people. And I totally get what they're saying with this. It definitely gives some interest to life in Norman, but you have to remember that the University of Oklahoma is the biggest public university in Oklahoma. And we have a lot of professors, and professors are a little eccentric. And then we have a lot of artists, a lot of musicians. It can be a really funky town. Those eccentricities help with the interest of life here. This person also says that Norman's a nice place if you're a homeless person. I made an entire video of this, so all I'll say is that there are at any given time between 100 and 150 homeless people in Norman at a time. They also say there's nothing cool to do. I do disagree with that pretty wholeheartedly. The thing is, though, there's not very much nightlife. If there's nightlife, it's for OU students. And I don't know about you, but I just don't want to party. Like, I just don't want to. Like, I'm a brunch girl. I want to go to brunch or I want to go to lunch. And then I want to come home and go to sleep by 9 o'clock, right? The last bit that this person says is Oklahoma is not okay. That's kind of a cliche, guys. Like, yeah, it's okay. The next review is not worth the trip at all. Way, way, way overrated. It's like the city tries too hard to be a major city. Sure, it has a high population for a suburban metro city, but it's really only known for OU. OU is incredible, though. Great school. Don't move to Norman. This person says that Norman is not great, but that OU is fantastic. I gather they're probably a student, or maybe they were a student. For Norman, one of the major draws is the University of Oklahoma. And there's 130,000 people who live here in Norman. It's not the only thing to do, but it is really nice. Like, I actually walked to campus last night. It's like a big giant park. I love it. I don't know about Norman being overrated. I think it depends on your perspective. And one thing that we do say about Norman is it's still a small town. It has that small town feel. Normanites who have lived here their whole lives and went to school here, like there was only one high school until the late 1990s. Everyone knows everyone in this town, even though there's 130,000 people. I do agree with them that OU is great. It is rated one of the best educations in the US and also one of the cheapest. This next one's interesting. This person says that Norman is a college town, which is completely true. There are always restaurants hiring servers and dropouts to manage them, but that's the only steady job market. Not completely true. University of Oklahoma is the biggest employer in Norman. One of the other biggest employers is Norman Regional Health System or Norman Regional Hospital. So that is a medical system. And then Johnson Controls, they make like HVAC systems. They're also one of the major large employers here in Norman. Also like Norman Public Schools, City of Norman. So the restaurant scene isn't even like in the top 10. The last one on this page, the last 1-star review for Norman says that during the school year, the roads here are not large enough for the number of people that try to use them. They aren't bad during summer, though. Some people believe that traffic in Norman is terrible. Usually those people are going to be from small towns because we do have a bit of a rush hour. You may have to sit through a couple of cycles on a traffic light, especially during our rush hour, which tends to be around the time that high school lets out and all those extra drivers on the road. They're saying it's not bad in summer because around like 20,000 people will end up leaving Norman. So 130,000 people live here. And then there's students. So it's 128, 130,000 people plus 25,000 people. because if you're just going to school in Norman, then you don't actually live here. You're not a resident, so you're not included in the count. I would say that traffic is all about perspective because people from LA, Phoenix, Seattle think that our traffic is fantastic, and people from small towns really hate it. So I'm Marcie Billen, and I am a real estate agent here at the Oklahoma City Metro. I love Norman. I live in Norman. I do work in some other towns, especially the ones that I'm talking about today. If you are needing to buy a property or sell a property here in Oklahoma, I would love to be able to help you. Please give me a call. And if you find my content helpful, would you go ahead and give it a thumbs up? That way other people might see this video also. The next town on my list is Moore. So Moore is sandwiched in between Norman and Oklahoma City, right on I-35. Moore is very famous for tornadoes, even though they really don't have that many compared to other places. So there weren't actually any one-star reviews of Moore, which really surprised me, but there were 5 2-star reviews. So this first 2-star review, I can't really speak too much on it, but we can read it together and you can do your own research. The drug community has risen tremendously over the last 5 years. The police force is doing nothing unless you are worth their time. Not sure what that means, meaning if you are not a big time drug dealer, they don't care. My second 2-star review says that Moore is an excellent place to live, work, and raise a family. Yes, fantastic. There is a wide range of schools, businesses, industries, and amenities. There are definitely a lot of amenities in Moore. So they have like the Regal Theater, which is a movie theater. We go to that a lot. There's a lot of restaurants. Some of our favorite restaurants are going to be in Moore and not in Norman, even though we live in Norman. Also, it's really easy to get to Moore from Norman. So that's really helpful for us. It's also very easy to get from Moore to Oklahoma City. It's a really short drive. So that also might be helpful to you. The public works and amenities are comprehensive. I do agree that Moore runs their city like a business, and they tend to stay on top of things. The only issue that this person has had with Moore is limited sidewalks and poor roads. Moore is not a walkable area. Neither is Norman, for that matter. It is more than Moore is. That was a little bit of an extra word there. There definitely aren't that many great sidewalks, and if there are, they're not protected, meaning they don't feel good to walk on next to traffic. And then, yes, some of the roads can be in very poor shape. They're just getting through, like, finishing up redoing Eastern right now, which is on the east side of Moore. So, yeah. This is definitely one of the ways that Moore isn't boring, and Oklahoma in general isn't boring. The weather here is always changing. So this person says that we get tornadoes, blizzards, heat waves, all in 1 month. You never really know what to expect. Moore is really famous for the May 2013 tornado, which ripped up pretty much all of 19th Street and kind of went sideways. But there's a lot of new businesses in that area because of that. I mean, new, it was 11 years ago at this point. We do get some cold weather, and then the very next day, it could be 75 degrees. Some of the coldest days I've experienced here in Oklahoma are going to be like 0 degrees, maybe -5. They're usually not more than 3 or 4 days at a time, and then it can warm up really quickly. We are technically in the South. You don't know what to expect here in terms of weather. Our summers are really hot. Our winters can be really cold, but they can also be really warm. It's been 65 degrees at Christmas before, so that's definitely not boring. These last two are kind of funny to me, especially this one. They say, I don't know any of my neighbors. Well, I can think of a way to fix that. Maybe go knock on their door, say hi to them, smile, wave, do something. Not everyone's going to be super chatty here, but a lot of people are very nice. And that's the number one piece of feedback that I get from my clients who move here. So they're like, dang, everyone in Oklahoma is so nice. And that's very true. And the last one, I kind of agree with this. They say that there at least should be a bus system and more. So there is a bus system in Norman, and there is a bus system in Oklahoma City. There's not one in Moore. It does make it hard to get around if you don't have a car. It is really important that you have a car if you're living in Oklahoma. And if you can't, you've got to live close to that bus system. And it's not always super reliable. I'm sorry. The next town on my list is Edmond. This is a pretty large suburb for Oklahoma City. Moore is not as big. It goes in the order of Norman and then Edmond in terms of size and population. Edmond's going to be located just north of Oklahoma City. So there's only one-star review of Edmond on niche.com, and I don't think it's necessarily a review of Edmond, but definitely of Oklahoma itself. This person says that this is horrible. I think they mean Edmond. Worst education in the country. Oklahoma is ranked number 49. Worst mental health in the country. Don't know the ranking on that one. Worst medical care in the country. I think it's like 46 or 47. Most restrictive and antiquated laws currently being passed and single party state. This is, of course, all about perspective and what kind of place you want to live in. So, this person did not have a great experience, but that might not be the same for you. Let's move on to those 2-star reviews for Edmond. Okay. So, I'm going to jump to the second one here, or I mean, the third one. So, this is a really common perspective of Edmond. So, this is that Edmond is highly overrated. If you are white and have money, this is the place for you. Wow. So they have pretty strong opinions. If you are not white and or do not have a lot of money, don't move here. One thing that you must know about Edmond is that they have a very high price cost of housing. And it depends on what kind of housing you need. It depends on where you want to live, what school district you want to be in. There's several factors there, but definitely do your homework on cost of living in Edmond. Edmond is full of snooty, pretentious people who call the police on anyone for absolutely no reason. Okay, so I do think that they had a bad experience with something. So I would really like to hear the rest of the story on that, but probably I never will. This says that everyone here is a hypocrite. They go to church every Sunday, but are very judgmental and have no tolerance for people who don't fit in their cliques. Every place can be cliquey, and I've heard this of Edmond several times, but I've also heard it of Norman. As for the schools, they are also very overrated. They're actually really highly rated in Edmond, and that's usually off of test scores. People do love living in Edmond because the schools are highly rated in terms of like niche.com, greatschools.org, etc. And then there are a lot of things to do in Edmond. Um, because it is a thriving economy. So the restaurants and the bars and the downtown scene with like they have this event called Herd on Herd. Like you're going to find things to do in Edmond, and it's going to be pretty close to downtown Oklahoma City as well, which means that you don't have much of a commute. This one says that Edmond is growing, but for someone who is looking for network, Edmond is more of a family town. Absolutely true. We find a lot of single family housing, which is usually indicative of that like quieter feel of like almost a small town, even though it's almost 100,000 people in Edmond. They have a handful of restaurants that are amazing. Very true. If you haven't been to Gabriella's, you need to go. It's my favorite Italian restaurant in all of Oklahoma. But most of the nightlife and action is going to be in Oklahoma City. Yes, it is. If you need that, you need to live in Oklahoma City. And I'm not talking about the outskirts of Oklahoma City because that's the country. I'm talking about like downtown or Plaza or Paseo or the Village or Nichols Hills or something like that. The last one here that I want to read for Edmond, it says job opportunities are slim and not many places hire. I think this is a very specific time. 2014, when this person left this review, wasn't the greatest in terms of the economy for Oklahoma. The main problem is that most places pay $7.25 an hour for labor-intense jobs. $7.25 an hour is still the minimum wage here in Oklahoma. This says that most people work in retail, medical, or schools, and that's actually not the case. The biggest employer in Oklahoma is the DoD, which is the Department of Defense. We are an aerospace state. Choctaw is another one of these suburbs I wanted to bring up. I work a lot in Choctaw, and it is a booming little town. It's also very spread out, has a lot of areas with like acreages. So you can buy like a half acre a lot with a house or a full acre, just depending on what you are needing. So let's take a look at some of these reviews for Choctaw. So Choctaw is actually located east of Oklahoma City, and it's just east of Midwest City. Midwest City is very important because Tinker Air Force Base is located in Midwest City, and it is the largest single site employer in Oklahoma, and of course the largest Air Force Base in Oklahoma. We have 3 or 4, 5. There's a few. And a lot of civilians also work at this space because it is an air depot. Okay, moving on to our Reviews. Nice. There are no one-star reviews of Choctaw. That is very surprising to me. The poor ones there are 5 of. This first one says, I always feel like whenever you need a cop, they are never around to help. I have a feeling that what this person is referring to is how quickly Choctaw has grown. There are so many new houses out in Choctaw. Like this city has just boomed over the last decade. So I think sometimes the city has a hard time keeping up with the population. The second one says there's only fast food or mom and pop places, and they're talking about restaurants, and that is completely true. There is not much in terms of eateries in Choctaw, though there are some good mom and pop places. And then the third one says only minimum wage jobs are available in this area. You have to travel to another town for a better job. Choctaw is a little kind of country town. There aren't going to be that many high paying jobs. A lot of people are going to work at Tinker, whether civilian or, just working in the Air Force or the Navy. And then a lot of people drive to Oklahoma City and work there and live in Choctaw. So these next two are covering shopping and food once again. This says that we need more sit-down style restaurants. Yeah, there's definitely not very many in Choctaw, though there are a few. And this says that there is a Walmart, but there needs to be more clothing stores. They do have quite a few more things since 2015. Like there is a Starbucks in Choctaw, which kind of cracks me up. It's kind of in the like restaurant cluster. And you can definitely go and do your shopping and then get your treat at Starbucks, which didn't used to be a thing in Choctaw, and now it is. The last city that I have to cover is Yukon, and Yukon is just west of Oklahoma City on I-40. A lot of people in Yukon are going to work at the airport or they're going to work at Hobby Lobby headquarters. There's also a lot of other industry around, but those are like 2 of the major ones. So there were 2 one-star reviews for Yukon, and this one was my favorite just because I thought it was hysterical. I wonder if they copy and pasted it or typed it all out. So it says Yukon is terrible several times. So clearly this person did not have a very good experience, and they didn't leave us much in terms of specifics. So let's see what the 2-star reviews have to say. This one is pretty comprehensive. So this says that Yukon is a nice-ish, slow, small town outside of Oklahoma City, which is true. Schools are low in diversity and are full of bully-type mindset in the students and teaching staff. So that is a perspective choice, and hopefully this person got the help that they needed. And in terms of diversity, you need to do that research on your own. So this also says that the schools lack teacher involvement in reaching out to students to create positive change in students' lives. Every student program at the school is expensive, ranging from $50 to $250. So they're talking about the amount of money that students have to pay to be in different activities. So this also says that the school lacks gifted student classes and activities. So it sounds like they really wanted a little bit more involvement, a little more stuff for students to do so that they wouldn't be as bored maybe. Yukon lacks entertainment or nightlife. That is very true. There's no entertainment or nightlife in Yukon. I think there definitely could be but it's going to be more rural things or like country activities. Yukon lacks warmth in the community as a whole, as well as diversity. I think it depends on how involved you're going to be in the city itself. If you're used to active, outgoing, culturally diverse lifestyle, then this isn't the place for you. I would say if you're wanting active and outgoing, you're going to need to live in certain areas of Oklahoma City so that you have that community feel that you're looking for. And this person brings up oil here, and they say a big negative is that they're always drilling for oil, which has now started to cause earthquakes more often. There are earthquakes here in Oklahoma. I think that one thing people don't realize is that Oklahoma is on a giant fault line, like the size of the San Andreas, I believe. I am not a geologist, but that is my understanding. It just hasn't been very active. There's also fracking, which is like injecting air into the ground so that they can get oil out. And that may be contributing to earthquakes. I am not sure because I have no idea. I love this next sentence from this person. Upside about this city is that you have plenty of time to think, read, start projects at home, and have plenty of time to finish them, plenty of time to catch up on television shows and movies. And best of all, if you don't like talking to people where you live, then this is a great place. And honestly, there are so many people who don't want to talk to anyone where they live, and they just want that kind of quiet, dare I say, boring lifestyle. And Yukon may be one of those places. The suburbs of Oklahoma City can be quite boring, but there's definitely a spot for everyone. So if you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up and definitely watch this video next.